Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is one of the very few Nintendo Switch games that is exclusive, as most Nintendo Switch games are either ports from the Wii U, ports from other companies that have been on other consoles, or just shovelware. But Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a lot different than so many other Switch titles. The very few are like this game, Octopath Traveler, and Super Mario Odyssey, which I might review later on. But those games have in common that they're just unique, they're different, and they bring a lot to the table to these franchises, other than games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, even Breath of the Wild, a port of the Wii U, because it was originally on the Wii U. Those games don't really bring much new to the table, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is very different from that, as although you might think it's a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 1, it is not. It is a completely different game, and one that I was very hyped up for, having kind of low expectations because Xenoblade Chronicles X didn't really have that much of a good story, and seeing that the time gap between X and 2 seemed pretty small, so I thought that this game would have not as much content, and I wasn't disappointed. This game is a Xenoblade Chronicles game, having a lot of content in it. Throughout the game, I've spent 200 hours, and that's just with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I won't talk about Torn of the Golden Country, as I might do that as another review, since it is its own separate game, as it is retailed as its own separate game. I will be talking about the expansion pass, however, though, the season pass, as I bought it $30, and it is one of Nintendo's great examples of paid DLC, as you're getting pretty much an entirely new game, which is Torn of the Golden Country, which you're getting it $10 off, plus you're getting a bunch of new content, which are these new rare blades and some other things that will help you out on your adventure. Anyway, with that said, we're going to start with the story. Now, the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a lot better than Xenoblade Chronicles X. However, I do not know if I think it is better than Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And I do have to say though, this game's story is an emotional roller coaster. This was the first game that ever made me cry, and that's saying something. It really is a powerful story. I don't know if I was involved and more, I guess, heavily engaged with the story as much as I was with Xenoblade Chronicles 1, as it does have problems pacing and it is slow at parts. Like things like chapter 2 I didn't really like too much, and chapter 4 you could probably know the entire game plot without that chapter, because they really didn't introduce much and it wasn't the best chapter, let's just say it at that. But you play as this boy named Rex, and you pretty much die. Yeah, in the first chapter, the first hour, you die. This is kind of annoying because they even show it in one of the trailers, so it's not really a spoiler. But yeah, your boy Rex, he dies. He's out on this salvaging trip with these people from Torna, and he gets killed by one of the Tornan guys named Jin, and he kills him. After that, he gets transported to this mysterious world of a reincarnation or an imagination of this world called Elysium, which is at the top of the world tree, which is in the middle of a circle of these titans. And he dies, and then he goes to this imagination of Elysium, and this girl Pyra says she'll give half of her life force to Rex to revive him, as long as he brings her to Elysium. And so that is our story. It's Rex bringing this girl, Pyra, who we find out is this powerful blade called the Aegis, and bringing her to this promised Elysium at the top of the world tree. Now, as you can tell, it's not that simple to get to the world tree, as it's in the middle of the Cloud Sea, and a lot of stuff happens throughout the journey as these Tornin people, as they tried to stop Rex at first by killing him, they continue to try and stop him and his friends to get to Elysium and to complete their goal. But overall, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about, blades and titans and all that stuff. But yeah, they're humans, which are drivers, and they basically control the blades. They awaken these core crystals. Only certain people can, which are drivers, and then you have regular humans that can't actually, or they can be other species too, that can't resonate with blades. And they get the power from the blades to attack people and basically use their power. And yeah, there are some characters, like one of the characters named Torna, or not Torna, Tora. Kind of confusing, but yeah, he's a Nopon. He's really funny, really cute, and he can't resonate with blades. He can't awaken any core crystals, and so instead he actually has to rely on artificial blades, which he doesn't really have a ether bond with, but instead it is something that he made, and his story is actually pretty cool too. Each character is very unique and different from each other. You got Rex, Morag, Nia, Zeke, and Tora, which all accompany you on your journey and help Rex bring Pyra to Elysium. And throughout the journey, it is, like I said, an emotional roller coaster. There's a lot of twists and turns, and bad stuff happens, happy stuff happens, funny stuff happens. A lot of different events, and although it didn't, like I said, make me emotionally invested in want to know more like Xenoblade Chronicles 1 did, it still did a great job. I could not put this game down. This is one of the very few games that I highly recommend if you have a Nintendo Switch. Like I said before, it's one of the very few games that is unique and a Switch exclusive, that's not a port and that's not shovelware. It really is one of my favorite games of all time. And I have to say the gameplay of this game is a lot better than Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And the story is up there. It definitely is. Overall, I still don't know which game is better. They both are great games, and it might be another video where I compare the two. But I love this game so much. There's so much content in this game. And with the blades, there's so many different blades. And even though most of the blades are kind of just bland and plain, there are rare blades, and these rare blades have personalities. They have skill trees, they have their own quests, and they have cutscenes and voice acting, and each blade has like their own story to them, and are really just, you get attached to them too. They have heart-to-hearts, everything. With Xenoblade Chronicles 1, you really only have heart-to-hearts with the people in your party, and that's it. And although there are more characters to play as in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, which I think there's like 8 characters, and here's only 5 drivers that you can play as, the rare blades make up for it, as they are their own characters as well. As most of the story blades are also make up for it and add up to be more than Xenoblade Chronicles 1's cast already, not mentioning all the other rare blades that aren't story driven. But yeah, the gameplay, really fun. Although it is a lot more simplistic, I think that's a good part about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, as Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was a bit more complicated with the crystals and having so many different more arts. In here you only have 4 arts per blade, and although they are different for each driver, and each driver has a different like skill tree, and each blade has their own like affinity chart, it just adds to more stuff to do, but it's more simple and better for people who I guess don't want like a complicated RPG, and you really can just sit back and have your character slash away, and then you can just press the face buttons as the attacks, while the D-pad you switch your blade up, which is a really cool concept, kind of implementing the multiple button D-pad that the Switch has. And like I said before, I could not put this game down when I first got it, and the reason I'm reviewing it now is because the DLC is over, and I finally have enough time to review this game. And like I said before, this game, Chapter 7, the first part of it, like the first cutscene, actually made me cry, and no other game made me do that, and it's definitely something special, and like I said, highly recommend this game. But I still don't know if this game's better than Xenoblade Chronicles 1. But like I said before, might be another episode. The game does get a little bit more complicated, and there is more stuff to it. There are driver combos, there are blade combos, there's like weapon proficiencies. There's a lot to do, like I said before. A lot of quests, a lot of blade quests, a lot of main quests, a lot of story quests, side quests, a lot of different things to explore. And with the DLC, they added even more stuff with more rare blades, more side quests, and they added a challenge mode. Plus, they even added a bunch of other stuff, like a custom difficulty, making you choose, like, if you want maybe higher HP for the bosses and like lower attack for you, or lower attack for the bosses and higher HP for the bosses, or lower HP for the bosses and higher attack for you. You can make the difficulty any way you want, which I thought was really cool. It also had this Bringer of Chaos difficulty, which is really hard, by the way. I've actually been testing it out, really hard. But yeah, the challenge center, it even has Shulk and Fiora, if you get far enough, and even also what's her name, Elma too, as blades. Really cool. You can have them as blades, and they have their own voice acting and stuff. Although they don't have their own blade quests and what's it called? Blade quests and heart to hearts. I think actually Elma might have one heart to heart. They still have their voice acting and a lot more, or some to it. Not as much as the rare blades, but still a lot to it. And the challenges are really tough too. Some of the challenges can be really hard, and I can only beat them on like custom difficulty for some of the challenges, but it really does test your skill, and it's where your grinding can actually pay off, I guess you could say, because most of the game isn't that difficult unless you're playing Bringer of Chaos mode or putting the custom difficulty to what you want. But like I said before, you can make the difficulty anything you want. So with that, the game can be as easy or as hard as you want, which is really cool, and I really like that too. Other than that, any issues with this game? I really didn't have many, except for getting that last rare blade, which took me a while to get. I'll definitely tell you that, grinding for the legendary core crystals, and this was before the update where you could skip the awakening scenes, which took some time, but I finally got the last rare blade, and that was it. I don't know if it was worth it, but I could say that I got all the rare blades. And I did have a kind of annoying thing where, in order to get the updated Torna blades and have them playable, you had to activate New Game Plus in order to get those blades, which I thought was also a little annoying, because having to start the game over in order to get new blades was a little bit disappointing, but still playing through this great game again wasn't too bad. And being overpowered pretty much, because you keep the same level, so you're 86 or whatever at the end of the game, and like you're beating the first boss in one auto attack pretty much. And it's pretty funny to see. But yeah, like this game from chapter 1 got me hooked, and I do have to say it's a really beautiful game that I recommend anyone at least just give it a try. Although chapter 2 and chapter 4 are a bit slow and may make you want to take a break from it, just try and stick through it, because the end is just also really, really good. Like I said, even just chapter 7, the first part made me cry, and just the end of chapter 6 was also pretty cool and brutal, I guess. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff in this game, and it's amazing that they actually made like another game pretty much a year after, which is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn in the Golden Country, which I did a live stream of actually. But I might show that off, or I might review that next time. But as for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10. It's that good. So yeah, thank you guys all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and more reviews right here on Telneck. Bye.